It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, he's been the chief of police in Hazleton for 2 months, and all I can tell you is, wow, things are happening in the city of Hazleton, and it's all for the good. Excuse me, I'm Sam Lesante. Thanks for joining us. My guest, chief of police, Frank DeAndrea, and when Frank came on the show when he was appointed, we talked about keeping us updated what's going on. We have a lot of great things to tell you about. One thing, folks, is you all know, Hazleton is very important to this community, to the greater Hazleton area, and I'm talking about a 5, 10, 15-mile radius. So whatever happens in Hazleton as a core really reflects a lot of other towns, and even though all the other towns have their own responsibilities. And I got to tell you, so we sit here in Hazleton on 109 West Broad Street. We're always concerned about what's happening in the town in many areas. And Frank DeAndrea is the police chief, and he's been on the road, literally on the road, almost every day. Frank, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be back.
You know, we talked about a lot of things. When you came on the show at first, and I asked you, what are some of the things in your goals? You stated a few of them. Since that, the last 2 months, give us a recap of, some of the things you've done. And like I said, wow, there's a lot of things that are happening.
A lot going on, a lot more to come. I also believe it's all good. I think that the city enjoys seeing a command presence, a presence of the police officers back on the street. The first thing that I said that I wanted to do, being a new chief, I bring a lot of knowledge to the department of the community, because I'm born and raised here. My family raised my kids here. I've been here all my life. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to sit with everybody in the department, ask them what they thought we did good, what we thought we needed to change, interview business people, talk to concerned citizens, and try and get an idea of what could we do better as a police department with the resources that we have. I spent the first 2 months doing this assessment, constantly reading emails, taking complaints, phone calls, going and visiting people, walking the streets. I walk the business district at least 4 times a week. I try to get out here every day. I think that's good because I learned firsthand. As a matter of fact, yesterday I directed traffic at Broad and Church Street because a funeral was trying to get through. I think that I like to be a hands-on chief, and there's a lot of good that comes from people seeing the police department exposure. After my 2 months of an assessment, I now feel that I know some of the things that we could change. One of the things that people constantly say to me is, "Great job, you hired more police officers." I didn't hire any new police officers. They're just more of a presence. You see more uniform presence, more officers wearing a uniform out on the streets, using marked cars. That helps in 2 ways. First of all, it helps the community feel safe. And it helps us combat crime because every time the criminal turns around, there goes another police car, there goes another cop. So the omnipresence brings with it lessening of crime because they're like, hey, we're going somewhere else to commit a crime. Every time we go into that city, we can't turn around without seeing a cop. That's what, I succeed in doing that. So some of the initiatives, or some of my plan early on was to simply try to do an educated assessment and get a lot of input. I will never stop learning, no matter what it is. One of the things that I won't stop learning is how to help the community. And I do that by soliciting a response from the community, saying, please call, write, email, get in touch with somebody, get word to us. I don't always only want to hear you're doing a great job. I want the people to call to me to say, hey, we have a problem up here. Carlton Avenue and Poplar Street, we can't pull out without, almost getting T-boned because they parked the cars this way or anything like that. Then I could send my people up to do an assessment. If the community doesn't tell me where they think there's problems, I'll never know what to fix. So that's where I'm now into the stage of trying to implement some of the new things that we talked about.
In terms of implementing things like anybody else, and I got to tell you, I've said this before, I'm here every day, and I see the police people, they're working, they're hardworking people. I wouldn't want to be a cop today in a million years because, there's a lot of wackos out there. But with that being said, compliments to We have a great police department as well as the local municipalities.
Absolutely.
Okay. With that being said, when you're implementing things, Frank, okay, you know you certainly have been. The press has been there for you. We've been able to promote, as well as the standard speaker, our media partners. We're there to try to let people know that, hey, like you said, not like when you turn around, there's another cop going down the street. What's happening up there? There's a cop here. There's a cop there. I saw the cop going in. That's very important, okay, because they know they're not going to get away with that stuff, okay, and you're pretty strong with that. Now, you're getting cooperation, at least what I see, from the media, okay? Are you getting cooperation from, the mayor? Are you getting cooperation from your people? Are people being able to implement what you're implementing? Because we're seeing already some results of that.
Right. Absolutely. I'm blessed. When the mayor asked me to be the chief of police and I accepted, he pretty much explained to me, I'm the mayor, you're the chief of police, run the department. I get nothing but support from both Mayor Yanuzzi and our administrator, Mary Ellen Lieb. Total support. No matter what I go to them explaining, I think I need to do this, I want to look into that, the answer is always the same. You're the police chief, run the department, and I keep them abreast of what I'm looking at doing. But from my people, and I can't thank you enough, yet also applaud my department, bar none, phenomenal police officers from the top to the bottom. Every officer up there is worth everything that they get paid and then some. And you're correct in saying that it is not an easy job to be a police officer in today's society. My hat is off to them for doing everything they do with the resources that we have. They're a great bunch of people, and I'm proud to be a part of them.
Frank, every day when you get up, okay, and people sometimes don't think of it this way, because you see, a criminal doesn't think like a normal person.
That's correct.
They do not have a normal mind. They're criminals, and whether they're on drugs or whether they're doing this, and sometimes they will do anything to do that. You expose yourself to the community every day. You're walking down the streets.
Right.
You're walking here. You're walking there. Okay. So either one thing is, don't screw with that guy, or he means business. And those are the two things that I think people are beginning to see. And it is comforting to the Hispanic community on Wyoming Street, on Alder Street, up in the different, and people that you were born and raised with up in Popular Street, the high Mongie Street and all the, you were born and raised in those areas, so you know how they feel about their community. So at least there's comfort in knowing that things are being done, okay? With that being said, there's a lot of other things. There are different ordinances that we have to talk about, and why you're doing what you're doing. Some people felt that when the tickets were issued, that warning should have been issued first, okay, instead of slapping them with that. But there's reasons, I'm assuming. One thing that you said, which I always do, I have different departments. I tell the news department, this is what I'd like to see our news department achieve.
Correct.
I set the goal, let them achieve it. I can't do it for them, okay? And I think what the mayor is saying is, we want a safe city. Okay, Frank DeAndrea, let's make it safe. Folks, I'm talking to Frank DeAndrea, new police chief in Hazleton. As I said, as the city of Hazleton goes, that's how our community is going. And there's a lot of great things happening downtown. For those of you who live here in different areas, you're seeing exactly what the chief just said. People hitting the roads, the cops are out, the visibility. It's a little difficult to think about, if I'm going to do something, I should do it here. Another thing is we have video surveillances. And, all I could say is beware, because sometimes you're being watched, you don't know you're being watched. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, and welcome once again to all our people in Schuylkill County. I'll tell you, folks, I'm really thrilled. The 4 o'clock news, as you know, we're giving you 3 hours of jam-packed news. The 4 o'clock news is all the local stuff from 4 to 5. Then KYW, we team would take KYW. Back at 6 o'clock with local news. Of course, our repeats at 10, 11:30, and then, of course, the 10 o'clock the following day. I really want to thank you for the tremendous response, increase in viewership. But before we talk to Frank DeAndrea, who's the chief of police in Hazleton, Tomic and Mountain Spring Water, folks, the official water of SSP TV and Samson Productions. This is the water Starbucks uses. If they don't have Tomic and Spring Water where you buy your water, ask for it. And, of course, Yes, folks, I'm taking this every day. 2 shots in the morning, and it's fantastic. It's called Mona V. Dan Bissell will tell you all about it. You got to try it. It's fantastic. 24/7, ssptv.com for all the information. All right, now, we have some interesting things to talk about. I want to talk about the ordinances that you're going to be addressing. This great thing when you were speaking up in with the kids, and we're going to read some of those letters, and then we're going to make an announcement of what's going to be taking place to even further the information from your office. So let's talk about the ordinances.
Good. I was actually really surprised in a good way when I first took office. You know, you take all of these books and manuals home. I had no idea that there were as many ordinances as there are in the city to keep it running properly, smoothly, keep it to be a clean place, a good place to live. In going through some of the ordinances, and I remember when I was a kid, I'm sure that many of our viewers may remember this themselves if they're from Hazleton, we had a curfew. And the curfew was 10 o'clock. There was a air horn on top of the fire station on Wyoming Street. And that horn would ring, you know, 3 times, and it would pause and ring 3 more times. And I remember that I had to be within 3 blocks of my house when the arc lights came on. 3 blocks because that's about as far as my father or mother could yell from the porch if they needed me. And when that curfew rang, I had to be on my porch. That was it. Somewhere along the line, the city got away from the curfew. One of the things I look at is we get an unbelievable amount of calls in the evenings, on the weekends, from neighbors who are trying to rest. They have work in the morning. Kids are out playing, kids are yelling, and I say kids, I'm talking about people less than 18 years old, not necessarily 5-year-olds, 16, 17-year-olds, walking the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, yelling and screaming. I said, we should reinstitute the curfew. I talked to the solicitor. We redo, the ordinance is already in existence. So 10 o'clock, and again, anything I speak of has to do 2 things before it's done here. It goes from me to the mayor and the city administrator for their approval. Once they're in agreement with what my plans are, we then present it to city council, and if city council will vote that they think it's a good idea, we'll enact a new ordinance. Other ordinances are already in existence. We're just going to enforce them. One is the curfew. I think that after 10 o'clock at night, there is really nothing that anybody under the age of 18 needs to be doing on the streets. Another one is the playgrounds. There's already an ordinance in existence. The playgrounds are closed after dark. Nobody enforces it. We're going to start. You shouldn't be living close to, you live across the street from the James Street playground, it's midnight, and you shouldn't have to call the police department to say, I can't sleep. Well, we're going to start enforcing the playgrounds closed after dark. And so when we find people on the playgrounds after dark, they're going to get their citation for an ordinance. If they're under the age of 16, we're taking them back to City Hall, and we'll release them to their parents. So now the parents have to come pick them up. What we need to be able to do is get rid of these quality of life issues and allow the people to enjoy the community. A lot of what we do is we get calls about people dealing drugs on playgrounds. Well, what I say is I want the community to call and say we got kids there. Because now that we enforce these ordinances, when we go there and they call us, as part of a lawful arrest, I could search you, I could cuff you, take you back to City Hall. Well, when I search you, maybe I'll find the drugs in your pocket that you were dealing. Well, that sends another message to the community who's dealing drugs. Don't deal drugs on the playgrounds anymore, because now the city's enforcing the ordinance, and you can't be on that playground after dark. Another one that we have that we're tweaking a little bit is a noise ordinance. I don't want to be sitting in my patrol car with the windows up, and I pull up, a car pulls up behind me in the traffic light, you know. If I could hear noise from my car when the windows are up, that's a noise violation. I don't need a decibel meter to say it's 250 or 300 decibels. No. It's to a lay person, it's disturbing, it's too loud. That's a noise ordinance. You'll get a citation for that. It's no different than anything else. If I have to find unique legal ways for the police department to embrace the community, to take it back. Well, window tinting. There's just so much window tinting in this community. I don't think honest people try to hide in a car. But there's a lot of dishonest people who put window tinting on their car for a couple of reasons. They don't want you to see who's in there, because half of them are wanted. I'm talking about the dishonest people, of course. And they don't want you to see what they're doing inside the car, because they're using their car as a mobile workshop to sell drugs, weapons, you name it. It's happening. Well, the window tinting ordinance, in conjunction with the law in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, will now allow my patrol officers to stop cars for window tinting in the community. We pull them over for window tinting. What do you think we're going to find? We're going to find people who are wanted. We're going to find stolen cars. We're going to find stolen license plates, wanted people, drug dealers, weapons violations. Well, it was that window tinting stop, all of the little things that we're now doing, that will lead us to the bigger things. And the public will applaud, because they'll go down a business district and they'll say, every time I go down Wyoming Street now, I see a police cruiser with somebody pulled over. You know, hooray for them. Initially, our call volume goes through the roof, because we're responding to the playgrounds, because everybody's calling us and we're doing our policing the way we should. In a few months, our call volume plummets, because nobody wants to go get arrested at a playground anymore. The window tinting comes off, the drug dealers move away, go find somewhere else to sell drugs. That's why I'm in the newspaper, on your show, explaining we're going to run speed limit enforcement. It's probably 30 years that I could remember since the city actually had an earnest speed limit enforcement campaign with strips across the road. Well, it's time. I want the public to feel safe. I don't want to have my cars go to reportable accidents where pedestrians are hit anymore. I want people to come into the city of Hazleton and slow down and behave. That's what these ordinances are going to allow us to do.
It's amazing, Frank. You're talking about basics. All the stuff that worked before,
right.
All the stuff, and you're absolutely right. You'll have explosion at first, but they're going to see, as they're seeing now, okay, I think those people who come in this town and think they're being defiant and you know, the wise guys,
right.
You're going to address those. Speaking of that information, okay, there's ways you're getting out to get information. One of the things, folks, I want to announce here while the Chief's here, we're going to start on our news called the Chief's Corner. And this will be a great opportunity for all of us to learn more about what the chief and what the city's doing in ordinances. For example, we have the fireworks ordinance that people should know about. There are a lot of parking. The playgrounds, the curfews at 10 o'clock, all the things that the chief mentioned. So starting next week, we're going to have on our news once a week called the Chief's Corner. And we encourage you to either email me at sam@ssptv or contact the chief as to what some of the suggestions you'd like or questions you'd like to ask him that he may be able to address on our news on the Chief's Corner. But feel free to either contact SSPTV or sam@ssptv.com. He welcomes that. We come back, we're going to talk about something about what kids think about Hazleton. And you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. My guest, Chief of Police Frank DeAndrea. Frank, recently you were pleasantly surprised. You went up to speak to the third grade up in the Heights. What happened?
What prompted that was I opened my mail one day and I got an envelope, and Miss Zola's third grade class, thank you, Miss Zola, very much, had sent me. Miss Zola wrote a congratulations on my new position to me, and she recalls that she knew that I would accomplish great things because she sat next to me in Mrs. Stefanik's first grade class so many years ago. And then she said, "You make us Hazleton proud." And that, to me, just says it all. I have the third grade class, and every one of them is writing me, "Dear Police Chief DeAndrea, congratulations on your new position as the Police Chief of Hazleton. Thank you for all you do. You make us Hazleton proud." And I think, you know what? These third grade kids are onto something. Hazleton proud. Everybody should be proud of their community. There are days where you go home at the end of a long day, you wonder, am I doing a good job? Why am I doing this? And then something like this comes in the mail, and you get these third graders who are just, I mean, they're kids, they're honest, and they draw you pictures, and it's all smiling faces.
You look pretty good on this
Thank
one.
you very much.
You look very good.
It's all smiling faces, and this is the answer to why you do what you do. This is the future of our community right here. And they deserve to be Hazleton proud. And so I look at this and I think, thank you to Miss Zola and the third grade class, because this is why we do what we do.
And, you know, it's funny because, as you know, we've had conversations about this a while ago. I sat with the mayor and sat with one of the councilmen, Jack Mundy, and we talked about a couple things about making Hazleton proud. We should be proud where we live. And here's the kids telling you that.
Right.
What a great segue to that. Maybe we should jump onto some kind of campaign like this and Hazleton proud.
You had mentioned this to me a month before I ever got these letters. Yeah. And I agree with you that somehow the media, the police, the city, the community needs to reinstill pride in this community that is so rich with history. So what happened was, after I received this, and on several of them, there were little, pictures saying, "I hope you come visit us."
Oh, I see.
I got these on the 3rd, the afternoon of the 4th. The morning of the 5th of May, you know exactly where I was.
Yeah.
I was up there asking Miss Zola, could I please talk to your third grade class, because they need to hear from me personally just how much these little things, someone taking time out of their day to say thank you, means. And I share them with the members of my police department, and I let everybody recognize, hey, this is what it's all about.
Frank, and what you're doing is you're instilling in these young children that they should like the police department, not fear them.
Right.
They should come up and hug you and shake your hands. And when they see a cop, they should want to see that cop. They should say hi to that cop.
Right.
They should say thank you to that cop. It should be their friend.
It was very, very interesting, because as third graders, I empowered them and said, what would you like to see the chief do to better the community? Some of them want more playgrounds, some of them want less of a school year. One of them actually wants me to get rid of the construction in the city of Hazleton.
Yeah, well,
all the road construction.
Tell them,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, but it was beautiful to ask these children, how could I make the town better for you? And so don't think for a second that their input falls on deaf ears, because here's third graders that want to feel safe when they go to play on a playground.
Very quickly, let's talk about the firework ordinance.
Right.
I got about a minute left.
Good.
The
fireworks ordinance is very unique. There's a law in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that specifically spells out who could purchase fireworks, who can't. The sale of fireworks is not necessarily strictly governed. There's a law, if you're from New Jersey and you drive to Pennsylvania, you could buy them. The city, however, has a fireworks ordinance that is very clear. You are not allowed to set them off in the city. So you could buy them, take them to your grandmother's in Hoboken and set them off, go out of the city of Hazleton to somewhere where they haven't, where you're allowed to do them, but you are not allowed to set fireworks off in the city of Hazleton. I'm not talking about the fireworks you buy at Thomas's Market or IGA. I'm talking about aerial displays or anything other than the appropriate class. So one of the things that we're going to do, hopefully on the Chief's Corner, one of my first Chief Corners, is get the word out to the community so that they don't go waste their money and buy stuff they can't use. I want everybody to know, because come the 4th of July, if they're caught setting them off, they'll receive their fine from the city.
Frank, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
And I know we'll have he'll be here every week, folks, on Local News 13, called the Chief's Corner, and we'll bring you up to date. However, questions, any comments, Sam at SSPTV, SSPTV at SSPTV.com, or contact the police in the City Hall and tell them any questions you may have. We want to get everyone involved. The more people involved, as you can see, things are getting better in Hazleton. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.